Alright, Diablo 4 players, the Season 6 or Vessel of Hatred brand new mega update for all of the class balance changes. And I want to go and start off the video with actually the brand new mythic items that are coming out, and some of them actually look pretty dang insane. So I want to start off with that. There's a lot of patch notes. It's honestly just a lot of text that we're going to go over, give you guys my thoughts, and maybe kind of tell you guys what might be the best class. Keep in mind that the PTR is coming out very soon. However, with this PTR, we don't get access, I believe, to the Spiritborn, which is going to be the classes that we have, and then, of course, the Rune Wards. If you guys haven't seen the Rune Wards, we have kind of more of a dedicated video towards that, but it's basically all the newer updates, which do include some of the newer skills for every single class as well. So I'm really excited to see what this is. But again, there is so much to go ahead and go over. But I actually do have the screenshot of the brand new 2 mythic uniques for the game. So starting off, let's go look at the brand new chest mythic. So it gives you +1 to all of your passes, which actually is pretty dang crazy. This is potentially one of the best offensive and defensive items in the entire game because it's +1 to everything. There's a few, like, 2 or 3% here and there, but that's going to add up. That's on your entire character. You also have a bunch to all stats, which is good. Then you have surprisingly a low amount to maximum life. Like on average, I believe you get like 1,000 right now. Who knows if this number will change? Maybe it was a placeholder, but that number is actually really, really low. However, I started looking at it, I'm like, okay, now it's 1, 2, 3, so maybe that's the actual number. But you also get damage on next attack after entering stealth. So this could actually potentially be good for maybe the Druid or the Rogue because, well, those are the only classes that really enter stealth. And then you also have resource generation, which could be useful for even the Necromancer. And then it says if you haven't attacked in the last 2 seconds, you gain stealth and 40% movement speed. So this could actually be really fun to play around with. I like the idea of adding stealth to the classes that normally wouldn't have it. The only class I can think of that would really benefit off of this that's not like a Rogue or a Druid that has kind of stealth built into some, like for Druid it has a unique. But you could potentially still use this on Bone Spirit Necromancer because that a huge amount of damage boost on top of getting all those passives, that will really give you crazy damage. I'm really curious to know, what do you guys think of this? Do you think this will replace Tyrael's? Tyrael's is relatively defensive, but you still at least get 1 to all passives. That is actually quite massive. Now, the new helmet here, which is going to compete with, pretty much the best slot in the game because Harlequin and Andariel are really good. So that was Shroud of False Death. That is the chest piece. And then we have Ire of Perdition. So it's going to give you plus 200% damage to angels and demons. At the moment, I don't believe we even have angels. So basically what this is kind of hinting towards is in the next expansion, we're probably going to be fighting in the high heavens. And then we also have 20% critical strike chance, which is pretty dang good. And there's also lucky chance of 20% and also some movement speed. And then it gives you +3 to core skills, which, honestly, Harlequin is pretty much better with the exception of maybe that big bonus damage in terms of like the core skills, because this is a greater affix one, which should mean that it rolls basically with +2. But if you do masterwork it, you can maybe go beyond Harlequin. Then it says, give in it to hatred and earn Lilith's favor, increasing your damage dealt by 60x. Slaughter enemies briefly to steal Lilith's favors from nearby allies. So as far as I'm aware of how this works, which is a very strange item, is that we may actually see some potentially really cool idea where you have 3 people, or actually 4, but it's 4 people going in, but 3 people are dedicated towards, let's say, AZ DPS, and then they just boost up that person's damage to the moon because it's going to steal all of their Lilith's favor, and that could potentially be kind of cool. Who knows if that will be actually good, but that is one of the mythic uniques. So like I said, most of this update is going to be text, just as a heads up. So I already covered these, but I felt like it was better to have a kind of the screenshot here. So we went over both of the new those mythic uniques, but we also have a mythic unique pole arm, which is more likely because, well, the Barbarian can use the pole arm, and I believe the Druid can still use the pole arm as of right now, and also, of course, the Spiritborn, right? So the affixes on this are the inherent, which is the implicit, basically, which is damage to healthy enemies. That's actually a really good stat. Then we have a decent amount of life. It's basically half the value of what you normally would get. And then we have attack speed while berserking, but now every single class can actually berserk, so don't feel like it's only going to be for Barbarian. Then we have some damage over time, which is pretty decent amount considering, I mean, we have 400 here, another 400. It's weird. They wanted to like lower these damage numbers and stuff in the game. Is what they're saying, but then like we get back into like these Diablo 3 numbers where like we're going to go maybe to the billions again. I don't know. But we'll have to wait and see. And then also lucky up to a chance to become Berserking. So again, other classes can use Berserking now. And then the unique power is you're going to be able to execute enemies afflicted by more damage over time than remaining life. This is actually pretty crazy. I'm really curious to see how good this thing is actually going to be. Hopefully it will work against bosses, because the execute mechanic is like Culling Strike and Path of Exile. I think Diablo 3 actually had it on like a two-handed axe as well. But for the most part, no one uses it because it doesn't work against bosses. So fingers crossed that it'll actually work. So as far as tempering goes, we're getting brand new tempering things as well. So there's going to be new tempering recipes. We have basic, core, ultimate, which is really cool. I like this idea because there's a few things that can scale off of it, and it will just help us reach those. And then Elemental Surge tempering recipe has been split into two recipes. So we have night and day. We have cold, shadow, poison, and physical fire, lightning, which is really good because if you wanted to hit 1, it was a 1 in 6 chance, but now it's a 1 in 3. So I like that idea. And then the skill tree, all classes' skill trees have been updated to create new connections between nodes because we're getting new skills for every single class. So Barbarian gets a throw skill. We've actually kind of already covered this, but basically you throw this thing out and then you can get either increased attack speed while it's out, or you can increase its damage, and then it's going to pulse and you get some sort of maximum life as barrier. But yeah, you throw it down. I'm just going to mention, check out the other video, and if I remember to link it, I'll link it, but it's just literally the previous video that we just dropped. It goes over like the gameplay of this. They just don't happen to put it right here, just in case you want to see it. And then there's a passive skill called Barbed Carapace, which says key passive for every 25 fury you would spend. You also gain some thorns and up to 120%. Casting a skill with a cooldown grants you unhindered, which lets you move through targets. And then during this time, you deal 100% of your thorns as physical damage to close enemies. Then with Belligerence, these are all brand new passives on the skill tree. Remember, we're going to get 10 additional passive points, which is going to make that other brand new mythic unique even better with the +1 to all passives, right? And then we have damaging enemy with the basic skills increases your damage. So it's going to be good for maybe the Bash or Flay Barb. Then we've got our ultimate skills getting more damage. Then Warpath is going to be after overpowering, get increased damage. Then Irrepressible, casting a weapon mastery skill is going to fortify you. 30% after just one weapon mastery could be pretty good with the third sword, right? You can keep on just getting that fortification. It's going to be basically infinite fortification. And then we have a unique helm called the Ugly Bastard Helm, which has got an affix of, it's got some resistance, Wrath of Berserker cooldown reduction, and you have up to a chance to deal some fire damage. And then the special unique power is that you explode when you activate Wrath of the Berserker. You get to do some fire damage. And while berserking, all the damage you deal is converted to fire, and you get 30x increased fire damage. So basically damage conversion. I've really wanted them to add a lot more complexity to the game, and if we can convert damage, that's awesome, man. Now, there isn't anything that I would say that like sticks out right now for this damage conversion with the Barb, but I like the idea of it. And then we have the legendary aspects. Ideally, we get poison conversion because, yeah, poison is really good with Andariels. And there is an Andariel Barbarian build too, but this is just for fire. Anyways, aspect of Shattering Steel. These are the brand new aspects now. So Steel Grasp and Iron Metal Sword launch 10 metal shards that deal 280% weapon damage is physical. By the way, I'm just going to read the top number because, you know, the bottom number doesn't really matter too much for aspects. You're always going to just eventually get the top one, right? And then we have the aspect of Flame Rampage. So charge gains an additional charge, and each target hit by explodes for some sort of fire damage. I'm really interested in checking this out. I think it was in like what season? Was it season 3 or it was 2 or 3 where we were able to run a Charge Barb. Charge Barb was really fun. And then we have aspect of Flaming Rampage. Charge gains additional charge, and each target hit by explodes for... Oh, did they just put this one twice? Okay, they just copy and paste this one twice. Okay, it's whatever. Tempering Recipe, Bleed, Innovation, new Utility. So we have Rend, Effect Size, Rupture Size, Skill Ranks to Hamstring Passive. Then we have Barbarian Breach, so new Utility. And ranks to Expose Vulnerability, ranks to Pressure Points, Kick Vulnerable Duration. And then Brute Innovation is a new utility. Hammer the Ancient's Size, Upheaval Size, Mighty Throw Size. And then we have Core Augments, Barbarian, a new recipe For weapon, Hammer of the Ancients to deal double damage. Then chance for Whirlwind to deal double damage. Upheaval for double damage. Chance for double swing to hit twice. Now, this one is a little bit more interesting considering that would actually proc your lucky hits, you know, twice. Whereas double damage, you lose out on that. So maybe we could see something kind of cool with this. Maybe a dot build, Andariel's, because it actually has a pretty high lucky hit chance. And then there's a new weapon recipe. So we have charge to deal double damage, kicked for double. Okay, so they're basically putting all the double damage, or like the things that activate twice, on the things now. I think that's a good thing, because before, getting the size of, like, let's say Flurry was pretty terrible. I'm hoping we get like Flurry double damage, right? We have ground stomp twice. And then new weapon recipe, Mighty Throw twice, Steel Grasp double damage, Death Blow to double damage, and then Iron Man. So all the like underperforming skills getting double damage. I mean, obviously that's really good, right? And then with the Paragon board, Force of Nature, your Earthquakes have a 75% chance to spawn a Dust Devil every second that deals some sort of weapon damage. And Earthquake damage is increased by 30 of your damage versus close bonus up to a maximum of 150. I mean, that's a pretty big amount. And we have some more rare nodes. So we have Dust Devil damage, Earthquake damage, physical, Earthquake durations, some armor, some strength, resistances, armor, life, and armor. Alright, so that's it for the Barbarian. Keep in mind, we should be getting new Paragon boards as well. And obviously we get Legendary nodes. Wow, this is going to be a very, very long video now that we've only covered Barbarian. But let's go see what else we got for the Druid. So with the Druid, we have an active skill. Stone Burst is a brand new skill. It can be kind of channeled and holds up. So it does 20% weapon damage, but it can go up to 400 as you hold it down, then you release it. So you can increase the explosion or the bonus of attack speed, or it can deal even more damage but cost more spirit. Then we have the key passive of your companions. Skills gain one additional companion. This is a key passive. So this is going to be really cool for companions. You now actually have like something to go for. And if you run Stampede and all the bonuses, I really feel like this could be a really cool thing to mess around with. Getting a buff to Human, and I actually think the Human Druid was already a pretty decent one, especially for Love Lazy players. There's a really awesome build that we dropped in Season 5. Highly recommend you guys check out the Human Druid build. It's kind of like, I want to say like underrated, and a lot of people don't know about it. It's very, very good though. And Calamity, we have more damage after using a ultimate skill. And then we get to deal increased damage while healthy and increased damage while above 100% movement speed. Oh. Huh. So it's basically 6x, because as long as you reach those bonuses. And with the Monarch Ring, this is both a good, really good combo. Then we have Backlash. You get to deal increased damage after casting a defensive skill. Pretty good. There's that shouting the metal like a werebear that we just dropped as far as like a build guide, so this could work for that. It's cool. We have a brand new unique item, which is a totem. Wow, we finally get a totem. So we get damage to crowd control, we get some willpower, crit damage, chance for stone burst projectiles to cast twice, and then plus a stone burst. And then while channeling stone burst and for 2 seconds after, you get some damage reduction. And then Stone Burst Final Explosion deals 15x increased damage, further increase for each size increase. So you could probably get a pretty good amount of damage with this thing if you're going to charge it up all the way. And then we have Aspect of the Agile Wolf. So Shred gains a 4th attack that deals up to 60x damage, and then it also knocks down the enemies. And then we have Rapid Werebear, which is an offensive one. And while Grizzly Rage's active skills that critically strike apply rabies, and your poison damage is increased. This is really, really cool. Now, unfortunately, the build that I dropped sadly got the Druid massively nerfed. So we had a build, I believe it was in Season 4, where I showed you guys how to get Infinite Grizzly Rage. That no longer works. They actually made it so the cooldown doesn't start until it ends. So, unfortunately, you can't really get too excited unless they revert that change. I'm going to make that suggestion to have them revert it as a Diablo partner because, you know, let's be honest, no one's really playing it this season for that reason, and it was a really cool build that you can be Infinite Grizzly Rage because you'd gain all this bonus to crit, but now we have a new thing, and I don't know if people will be trying to run it because you can't have it up most of the time. And on top of that, ultimate skills are getting a pretty big buff for all builds because you can put more ranks into the ultimate skill now, which is really cool. So next we have Stormclaw's Aspect, so Ravens deals some lightning damage, and Ravens active deals its full damage in half the time, and enemies inside it are stunned. I think I'd rather just get just increased damage, but if it does its full damage in half the time, does it mean you get double the damage? Maybe Ravens. Don't sleep on the Ravens next patch. Alright, so we have Aspect, the Shattered Defenses, so Stone Burst causes enemies to take X increased damage from your other skills. Oh. and its spirit cost is reduced. Okay, that's a pretty massive amount. I mean, 50x, and it's for 5 seconds. So this may be the new caltrops for the Druid. What I mean by that is every single Druid build has to run this aspect. 50x is just too much to give up, to be honest. And if you just fit that in, you activate that, and then you do your other stuff. And then we have the aspect of the Anticline Burst, which Stone Burst deals some increased damage when cast or above 75 spirits. It is immediately... Oh, whoa! Okay, so maximum size, but not like channeled. So I'm assuming that means that... I mean, unless you can keep on spamming the giant one, and it would do all the damage as if you charged it up. Because I really don't like channeled skills, but if it automatically is at its maximum size, I'll have to relook at kind of how the interaction works, and we'll test it out. But if you can do max damage without channeling it, it's like 400x. There's really very few things that will give you that at the base of the game. So this could be something to not sleep on. And then we have new tempering recipes. So we have lightning augments. So we have Storm Strike to hit twice, Lightning Storm to deal double damage, and Cataclysm to deal double damage. Ooh, I'm actually very interested in this because I wanted to make a pure Cataclysm build, and we kind of had some success with it. It was like God tier for open world content. It was like you could literally ride the pony horse and just ride just like you would with a Crusader, which is really awesome, like in Diablo 3, and it would just delete everything. Now, as far as like, high pit pushing, yeah, Cataclysm is probably not going to one-shot the pit boss or, most of the elites in there, but if you get it to do double damage, it could be maybe good enough to pretty much get the elites down, but obviously the boss of the variant probably won't be instant deleted. And then we have the Untamed Casting Companion skill grants 4 ranks to all companion skills. Oh, that's a pretty cool legendary node. Definitely worth it. And then also we got some extra rare nodes. We got companion, lots of companion stuff, so vulnerable. Okay, nothing too insane, but this one's definitely not bad though. And then Necromancer. So they got a brand new ultimate. It's kind of like Righteous Fire if you play Path of Exile. It puts a giant AoE like dot on your character when you walk around, and it just deals damage. So it's kind of cool. And then it's going to absorb an increase. It absorbs souls and increases your damage. So you basically get 30x damage. And then the other bonus, it makes it so it's going to make them vulnerable, and you have a chance to absorb their soul. Then the passive over here, so this is a key passive, so enemies affected by vulnerable, crowd control, or shadow damage over time are infected with affliction. Take 15 increased damage from you and your minions. Your curse skills steal 30% of the weapon damage. Shadow damage to enemies that have affliction. This amount increases by 30x of your damage to crowd control, vulnerable, and shadow damage over time combined. Now, because this can actually scale and doesn't say that has a max bonus, so I'm curious to see how good this will actually be, considering that you can curse targets very fast, and there is also a unique pair of pants that your minions can then like apply the curses. So this actually may be something to not sleep on, because they can keep on just doing 30% like extra damage whenever they're like hitting. I think that's something I will definitely check out. We have Titan's Fall. So while fortified, you get to do more damage. Your lucky hit chance gets increased with precision decay. And then we have increased damage for 8 seconds after casting an ultimate skill. We have lucky hit chance to grant yourself a barrier. We have a brand new unique called the Unmaker. So we get damage reduction when you have a barrier, resource gen, soul rift, and perfectly balanced. And then we have power. So soul rift duration is increased by 0.5 for every 30 essence you spend while it's active. So maybe you can use it with bone and spirit, because that thing just sucks all your resources instantly. But it says up to 8 seconds. So basically you get 8 extra seconds of it, and hopefully with like maybe flicker stab, you can upkeep it 100% of the time. And it deals 102% of its shadow damage per second to surrounding enemies every 30 essence you gain while it is active. Now hopefully that works past it. If you run Starlight Band with like, let's say this, and this is, it's a helm. Oh, okay, so you can't do Andariels with it, dang. So say if you mix in Andariels plus Starlight, you can basically upkeep it, and you can get like crazy damage, but unfortunately that combo doesn't work because it's also a helm. Then we have a repeating Lotus aspect, which is an offensive one. Sever no longer returns, and it splits into 3 specters that expand out and back from its apex, and it deals 120% of its normal damage. I mean, if you can run this on a 200 or 240, that's pretty big damage. So phasing Poltergeist, so when Bone Spirit explodes, it spawns 3 spirits that seek nearby enemies and deal 40% of its damage, and it can only affect only once per cast. Now, if these 3 projectiles can all hit the same enemy, I mean, that's 120, you know, extra % damage per cast. That's pretty big. And then we have Fell Gluttony. Oh, you know, I'm wondering, do those projectiles also count as like individual Bone Spirits? Because after Bone Spirit hits, there's like some other bonuses that you can get. So that could actually be pretty big for that effect as well. So Fell Gluttony is an offensive aspect, or Golem, or Golem active also causes your Golem to erupt, dealing up to 4% of its damage, physical damage to surrounding enemies. Our Golem consumes corpses to reduce its remaining cooldown by 1 second. So Golem now can consume corpses to get crazy damage. So maybe you can just deal this like insane damage AoE, pop everything, and then it gets its cooldown right again, you pop it again. This could be something to take a look at as well. We have some new tempering recipes for the Necromancer. So we've got Bone Storm Duration, Bone Spirit Explosion Size, Bone Prison Duration. We have Blood Surge Novacide, Hemorrhage Explosion Side, Blood Lance Duration. We have Blight Size, Decompose Explosion, Soul Rift Duration. Okay, this is probably what most people want. It's a brand new skill. And then Execution Innovation. We have Sever Size, Reap Duration, Skeleton Priest Effect Duration, and then a brand new Legendary node. So Frailty, cursed enemies take 10x increased damage from you and your minions, increased by 10x each second they're cursed, up to 40. So pretty much most Necromancer builds, that's a no-brainer. You take it in every build. And then with some rare nodes, you have some shadow damage over time, some shadow resistance, some life, 15% damage to crowd control enemies, 20 armor, some int, some vulnerable attacks, because like whatever, it's kind of like filler content here. I really wish they made these new rare nodes a little bit more interesting, but it's probably to facilitate these new boards, just to kind of like round things off. There's not going to be, again, anything crazy. It's just there's yellow nodes. Then we have the Rogue, okay, my favorite class. So Dance of Knives, Cutthroat, Agility, scale at 6 charges, 1 second charge cooldown. This is the new channeled skill. It's kind of like Whirlwind, but for Rogue. But you can't do it forever because it has like these charges. So you channel to launch knives. It consumes 1 charge per second. Each knife deals 42% of damage. You also gain extra movement speed and dodge while channeling the skill. Dance gets you moving 10 or 30 meters while channeling, grants 4 charges. So maybe if you are moving fast enough, you could infinitely use it. And then Methodical Dance, when you stop channeling Dance of Knives, you drop 12 stun grenades, each dealing 20% damage, and the channel duration determines how many are dropped. And then Discipline Dance, each Dance of Knives slows enemies by 25% for 3 seconds and has a 20% chance to pierce. I just really wish it was just they pierce, because if they don't just pierce, then the clear speed on the Infernal Hordes just will be kind of terrible. And then as far as passive goes, we have Alchemic Admixture. So the key passive, dealing 3 different types of non-physical damage, increases the potency of your imbuement skills by 40% for 5 seconds. I wish it was just potency of the imbuement's like damage type. That'd be way cooler. This potency is further increased by 20% of the total amount of your bonus damage to poison, shadow, and cold. So if you get non-physical, that will tag everything, and I think that could be actually pretty good, because that basically means that's a 60% of whatever you get. So if you get like Rackonoths or anything else that would give you non-physical, this would be pretty cool. And then we have target practice, so we get crit strike with marksman and cutthroat. Wish it was just all though. It should just been critical strike chance, not with those, because things like Doombringer, Azarath, those can all crit, or any like other special like effects. Then we have some increased damage after using evade, and then we have after dodging, you gain some damage reduction. Then we have our ultimate skills deal up to 45x increased damage. I was actually trying to cook up some variant of Scoundrel's Leather with like the Eyes in the Dark. Unfortunately, that item is still like really bad, but more damage to an item. I think it's more so like it doesn't like function properly. It's supposed to be like up to 80% chance every core skill you get any sort of random trap, but it doesn't work that way. Then we have a brand new unique ring. Oh, what is this? So we get Shadow Res, resistance to all elements, we get crit, and then damage on next attack after entering stealth. So you can maybe use this with like the grenades. And then we have Smoke Grenade cooldown, and then Mending Obscurity. And the special power is casting Smoke Grenade increases your critical strike damage by 33x for 3 to 6 seconds, and leaves behind a cloud of shadows. While in the cloud, you gain stealth once per second. So you're going to be able to interstealth. I think that could be really good, because there's a bonus when you enter and break stealth to just drop those stun grenades. So maybe we're going to finally get a good stun grenade build. Stun grenade build is actually really hard to play. If anyone has played it, you know what I'm talking about. And I think that it's kind of cool to have these really hard builds, but they need to be like the top tier. If they're going to require all these like steps where you have to like activate Shadow Imbue, get damage, go through the target or stun it, evade through it, and there's so many steps, and then you get to like activate your stealth skill. It requires so dang much, and unfortunately, it's still not as good as Andariel. Any variant of Andariel is really strong. And then we have Aspect of Poisonous Clouds, so that is an offensive aspect. It says when entering stealth, you create a cloud that does just some damage. Okay, wow, and it's weapon damage. It says of weapon damage, probably as poison damage. Then we have Splintering Charge, which is an offensive aspect, which makes it so there's a up to 100% chance when killing or hitting a frozen enemy to create a ice splinter that fires away from them. That does some sort of damage, and it's going to chill them. Then we have Aspect of Star Shards, which is an offensive aspect. It says knives from Dance of Knives have 50% chance to shatter into 6 shards of metal on hit, dealing 100 to 120% physical damage. Dance of Dice now spends combo points, granting up to 3 additional charges that can exceed the maximum. I mean, this is looking crazy good. So you have a 50% chance, not like Lucky Hit, there's just 50% chance that will split, that each deal 120% of your physical damage. Okay, maybe this new Dance of Knives is going to be like uber S tier. I mean, if we just look at this, right, and we just take this and say, okay, it is a 100% chance for 3 shards, right? That's still 360% physical damage every single time you use it. That's pretty big. There's not very many skills that will give you that amount of damage. And if you can increase your attack speed high enough, you can hold it down forever. So we'll see. So we have new weapon recipe. So Flurry to hit twice, that's awesome. And then Dance of Nice Projectiles to cast twice. That basically just means that whatever this number is, 50% chance, I mean, you're just going to shoot way more. And we have Dash to deal double damage. Hopefully Dash will be a viable option, like a Refinement Monk from D3. And then we have Assassin's Augment, so Shadow Step cleaves, so it's now going to do AoE damage. And then we have a chance for Blade Shift to deal double damage, and Smoke Rain to deal double damage. And then we have a chance for Twisting Blades to hit twice. And we have a chance for Random Arrows Waves to cast twice. And we have Invigorating Strike, cleaves for some max damage. Although with the Rain of Arrows, I like casting twice. Wouldn't you just run like the Hakan Amulet, which already gives you twice? Like, I don't know if this is pointless. I think that we should have got double damage, because even if you get to activate twice at like, let's say 200%, it won't cast another time unless they do change that. And then they changed some of the names. So basic augments are now Marksman, and then core are now renamed to Marksman. Okay. Then we have the Legendary Nude for the Rogue. Dance Macabre. Casting a mobility or subterfuge skills increase the damage of your next skill by 50%. So they really want you to kind of use one skill and then do more like a combo base. But the problem is I think the cooldown might be too long for all these to be really, really spammable. But I mean, 50x is kind of cool. Maybe actually be able to see some play with, let's say, the Rapid Fire Rogue. That is one build that still sees some play. That kind of takes a little bit of time, builds up, then it unleashes like a big damage, right? So we have rare nodes, so we get damage to healthy enemies. Okay, that's a pretty decent node. We have mobility cooldown reduction, subterfuge, damage to elites. This is good. Damage to reduction from close, damage to close, damage from distance. Okay, so actually, Rogue actually has like the best ones. These are all like really good. This is really solid. Then we have like good damage reduction and elite damage over there. And then for Sorc, we have Familiar Conjuration Skill. So it's a brand new thing that gives you these little like little minions that kind of like, they're little like familiars that float around. They do damage. So depending on the element, you get like burn, chill, or stun. And then it no longer depends on your previous casted skill. It's just gonna have a sequence of cold fire, cold fire to cold, cold to lightning, and lightning to fire. And then while you have at least 2 different elements, you gain 3% damage reduction. I don't know if that's per. That'd be really good if it's per. But if it's just 3%, it's like so small, it doesn't really matter. And then Invoke Familiar. While you have a active familiar, you get to deal increased damage of its type. Now I'm hoping that it means that if I have multiple of like all of them, because they said you can go past 2, so I'm not sure if that means that, like, let's say if you have like 3 or 4 fire ones, I mean 40x fire damage, then that's pretty dang good. Depending on how many you have, this could actually make Fractured Winterclass like the new god tier thing, because you have all these familiars coming out and you have all the bonuses. But who knows? They never really said anything about a nerf yet, so we'll see. We have Enlightenment, so the key passive at casting skill grants a stack of Enlightenment, or 15 stacks if your previous cast was a different element. After gaining 100 stacks, you become Enlightened. You can no longer gain stacks. You lose 10 stacks per second, while Enlightened, your bonus damage with fire, lightning, and cold are equal to the combined Then you gain increased damage, mana regen, and attack speed. So this could be kind of cool. Instead of running, let's say, the Unstable Currents for the Lightning Spear Sorceress, you can now go Frozen Orb, Lightning Spear, Frozen Orb, Lightning Spear. And then now your cooldown reduction doesn't have to be perfect, and you gain some sort of big benefit if you happen to have that. Plus, you're getting more of the conjurations. And then Evocation, we get to reduce all your cooldowns. Energy Focus, you get some sort of barrier of your life every second up to 30. So basically, this is galvanizing, and then it's lost after you lose HP. So as long as you never lose HP, permanent barrier, I think this thing will be fun to mess around with. Then we have Dampen Layer, so you get damage reduction while you have an active barrier. Then with Elemental Synergies, your Frost Shock, Pyromancy skills get to deal increased damage for each skill you have equipped of their type. So what do you have, like 6 skills in the game? So it's 24. I don't know if people will try it. It's kind of cool. We have this Cities, abiding some gloves, so we get Non-Fizz, Familiar Explosion, chance from Familiar to hit twice, X to Familiar. Casting of Familiar now summons all 3 elements variants at once. Familiar's duration is increased, and its cooldown is reduced by 2 seconds, but its maximum charges are reduced by 1. So I guess you get to have them last a little bit longer, but what I'm more interested in is what's like, if I just summon them with, let's say, Fractured Winterglass, well, yeah, it's going to be really good, because isn't that what it summons? It summons, I don't know if it specifically will say, like, you can't summon off of those, but I'm pretty sure it goes, and this is a conjuration skill, right? So I'm assuming that it would work with it. Then we have Aspect of Charge Flash, which is an offensive aspect, so after Charge Bolts hits enemies 50 times, your next 3 casts of Charge Bolts becomes waves that pierce and deal 240 weapon damage and critical shock damage. Okay, so it's always going to crit. I don't know. I feel like Charge Bolts have never been good, so maybe it'll finally be good. We'll have to wait and see. And if, I mean, it does require 50 times, I'm going to have to test it out. Like, is this even really, like, is this pretty fast active? Because, like, back in Season 2, 50 hits of Ball Lightning, nothing. You'd hit it instantly. I don't really know how the behavior of Charge Bolt works, especially when you're doing double projectiles. But if anyone's played Charge Bolts in recent times, let me know. Is it easy to hit 50 times? And then there's Aspect of Elemental Constellation, which is an offensive aspect. When you use a Pyromancy Shock, Frost skills conjure a magic elemental dagger around you that pierces through the enemies that deals some sort of damage. After 3 seconds, the damage is increased by 100 per matching elemental skill you cast. Then we have Aspect of Overheating, which is an offensive one. After channeling Incinerate, it gets to deal extra damage, crit fire damage per second. Wait, critical fire damage, but isn't Incinerate like the channel skill, which does not benefit off of crit? Huh. Casting Incinerate refreshes and maintains his bonus. Critical fire damage. So, like, it works with crit damage now? Or, like, how is this working? You know, I'm going to be honest, I don't think people like the skill because you have to hold still. I think what they should do is maybe while you're incinerating, teleport's cooldown is, like, nothing. It just makes it so teleport has no cooldown. They actually, I believe, did this eventually in Diablo 3 with a certain build. And then we have Tempering Recipes, so we have Pyromancy, so transfer Incinerate to do double damage. We have Firewall to do double damage. Meteorites to do double damage. This is pretty good. I think maybe we'll see Rise of the Meteor. We have Blizzard to do double damage, Ice Spike for double damage, and the Deep Freeze. This is almost pointless because this is what does the damage with Blizzard anyways. But who knows? Maybe there's another thing with Blizzard. We have Frost Nova, Blizzard Size, Teleport Nova Size. I'll tell you guys a bonus tip. Blizzard Size actually makes the Ice Spike build with Blizzard actually worse because it splits the density in the Ice Spike so you get less overlap. So you actually don't want this. They may not know about that, but at least I'm letting you guys know. So what it should do is also increase like the Ice Spike's density in the increased size. Hopefully that will be changed. So on top of that, there's a brand new legendary node. So fundamental release, each fire, lightning, and cold attack you make against an enemy increases the damage it takes from you per element up to 30x. What's funny is they actually already have this as a glyph. But whatever, it's fine. It's just more damage at the end of the day anyways. And then we have some rare nodes. So we have vulnerable and non-fizz. So this one's nice. Especially if it's a rare node, you get like the bonus to rares, and then you can maybe get it to 20-30%, depending on like how it works, if there's like the bonus that you get with it. And then damage reduction from burning enemies, damage reduction from vulnerable, damage to burn, and then damage over taken over time reduction and resistances. And then all classes. So we actually went over this already, but basically all of the classes can now put up to 5 skill points into their ultimate. Which, again, if you get to all skills, that's going to be even stronger. I'm really curious to see what happens when you get all of the bonuses, like Werebear, Werewolf skills. Especially on Druid, there's a lot of plus ranks to skills. And you can only hold one ultimate, though. And then all weapon tempering affixes now grant multiplicative damage, which is really good. And all classes have innate 15 blocked damage reduction. Shield's inherent block damage reduction is reduced. Oh, okay. And then these are aspects for all of the classes. We have deflecting barrier. So while you have a barrier, there's a chance to ignore incoming direct damage from distant enemies. That no one really played that one. And then now you have a chance after taking direct damage to gain a barrier equal to 20% of your maximum life. It's doubled against distance. Wow, this is actually not too bad at all. I mean, it's basically like a dodge that you're getting like life from. And if you didn't know, the life one where you when you dodge, I forgot if it's Crowded Sage or Ever Living, but that actually activates a potion on some skills because how the game registers it pops a potion. It even makes the sound. So this could be pretty interesting for survivability. And then Aspect of Slaughter. So you used to gain movement speed. Now you gain movement speed and you lose this bonus after taking damage from a close enemy. Okay, cool. That's definitely a little buff on that, but not too big of a difference. Oh, this is a nerf. No. So Starlight says you gain 25 to 40 primary resource after every 20% of life that you heal. How it worked with Andariel's is you were able to activate it even though you wouldn't actually heal for the life. But now it says that it requires every 200% of life that you overheal while at maximum. So is the build dead? You know, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know. I'll have to test it out because you're gaining so many hits per second. It may not actually matter because you get the ticks, you get the if you're running the Tyrael chest piece or any other like sources of bonus damage. This could be actually something not that bad, but it's definitely nerf. I don't know if they noticed that build. But next up with Barbarian, we get extra Fury. Hey, look at that 2% damage increase. Frenzy Barbarians locked down. Get excited about that 2%. I'm obviously being sarcastic. I don't think it's going to be good. There was that like Battle Trance amulet got buffed and no one played it. Wait, hold on. We're getting more buffs. Before, while Frenzy granted 60% bonus attack speed, it also generates 3 additional Fury. Now it grants you 60% bonus attack speed and the cost of your core skills are reduced by 25. Then Combat Frenzy, you gain some damage reduction, and now you have damage reduction and gain 5% movement speed for each sec that you have. Okay, so you lose on that. It was pretty much only seeing play in Thorns, and like them increasing the damage by 2%. I mean, to me, it just seems like so like, well, how am I supposed to get excited about something that does no damage, right? And they're gonna increase it by 2%. Attack speed got increased by 1%. I don't know if this makes Frenzy like viable now, but we have Ground Stomp. Damage got increased, basically got doubled, and then before Ground Stops, you get to increase the duration. Now Ground Stomp generates 60 Fury and has 1 second increased stun duration. Then with the tactical Ground Stomp, so generates 60 Fury. Now Ground Stomp is now a brawling skill and does 800% increased damage to all bosses. And it also applies vulnerability. Then we have strategic Ground Stomp, so it would reduce the cooldown of your ultimates. Skill by 2 seconds for each enemy's damaged by Ground Stomp. Then you get to reduce the cooldown of your ultimate skill by 4 seconds per enemy damaged by Ground Stomp up to 12. It could be kind of cool if you want to spam ultimates. Hamstring, so your bleeding effects slow healthy enemies by 20. Now your bleeding effects have a 15% chance to slow healthy and injured enemies by 70% each time they deal damage. Why'd they make it like so weird? Like it's so like conditional. It's like, okay, so there's now it doesn't even 100%. It's a 15% chance, and it has to still be a healthy. So they lessened the effectiveness. And then now it does at least work against injured, which is kind of cool, but it's by 70% each time they deal damage. So they have to like hit you, right? Or is it like when they take a bleed effect? Then when slaying strikes, so damage to injured got reduced over there. And then unconstrained, before we get to increase the maximum duration of berserking by 5 seconds. And then now it's berserking's damage bonus is now increased to 60, while below 65% life, you are always berserk and gain a 25% physical damage reduction bonus. That's kind of cool. And then tempering, the following list of all the affixes are now available for each tempering recipe. So we have skill rings to cut to the bones, chance for rend to hit twice, chance for rupture to deal double damage. We have bash cleaves for some set of damage, chance for frenzy to hit twice. Okay, this could be actually now good. Like the plus 2% doesn't really matter unless we get like double, but who knows if that's going to be actually good enough. And then chance for Lunging Strike to deal double damage. Flay Duration got moved over there. And then we have Berserking got changed. It got renamed to Berserking Innovation. And then Dust Devil's damage got added to this recipe from Offensive over here. And Barbarian Innovation, so we have Earthquake Size, we have Frenzy Duration, Stun Duration, we have Ground Stomp Size, Leap Size, Dust Devil Size got moved to a utility. This is good. This is actually a pretty nice buff. for Barbarian because you wanted to get Dust Devil size and Dust Devil to cast twice. Now we have the Sandstorm Augments. The weapon recipe got renamed to Natural Augments. Dust Devil damage got removed, and now it's going to be multiplicative. So chance for Dust Devils to cast twice, chance for Earthquakes to cast twice, Earthquake duration over here. And then we had Brawling Skill damage, Weapon Mastery damage while Iron Maelstrom is active. The additive damage recipes for Death Blow, Charge, and Kick have been removed. And then replacements have been added to the new weapon tempering recipes. With Giant Strides, the cooldown per enemy hit got reduced from 2.25 to, or I guess from 2.5 to 1.3. The maximum reduction reduced from 9 to 7. And then Bolcathos, the earthquake damage got increased over here to up to 217 of earthquakes. Earthquake damage got increased by, is that like 50%? So it goes to 191. Paragon, the Hemorrhage. So it's replacing Flare. So previously you had damage reduction from bleeding enemies, and now it's giving us physical damage over time and damage to bleeding enemies. And then Bloodbath is damage reduction from bleeding enemies. So I guess they're kind of just moving those around. And then we have Blood Rage, which is on the board in range, replacing Grit. So previously you had 10% damage while berserking duration. Now it's 4% damage reduction, and then healing received. Healing received I feel like is memes. And then Grit replacing Wrath, so damage reduction from bleeding enemies, and then now it's damage while berserking. So they're making it maybe easier to hit those bonuses. And we have Carnage. We got Berserking replacing Brash, which is 5% damage while berserking and 16% damage to elites. And then we have damage reduction from close, fire res, damage reduction from close, now getting some damage to elites, Decimator. We have damage reduction from vulnerable enemies, and now it's physical. Then with Arrogance, we had damage with two-handed slashing weapons, and now it's damage reduction from vulnerables. And now we have Bone Breaker board, so Bludgeoner replacing Vigor. So these are changing. Instead of damage with two-handed bludgeoning, we get 5% damage reduction while healthy. And then previously we had damage reduction while healthy. Now we have damage with two-handed bludgeoning weapons. And then Flawless Technique, we used to have damage while berserking and damage reduction from close. And then now it's damage reduction from close. And then we have damage with one-handed weapons. We have Warbringer. So it's replacing Brute Force. We got Resistances, Strength before. Now it's damage while fortified. And Guarded Advance. It used to be 10% damage while fortified. Fortified Generation. 3% resistance. There's so many of these like weird changes that I feel like it's just like so minor. It almost like doesn't matter. It feels like they're just like doing a lot of changes for the sake of changes. But let me know, guys, what you think of like all these small changes. I feel like I almost want to skip over it, to be honest. But I mean, previous 20 armor, 10 strength, 16 damage. This is like way better. Like that's like the one that I could see being much better. All this stuff is like 10% damage. You know, and you're moving like resistance. Like it's so small. So innate skill Debilitating Roar rework. Debilitating Roar now slows enemies first duration and increases your damage done for its duration. Oh, this could be actually quite cool. All right, and next up we have Preserving Debilitating Roar. So the healing gets increased from 4 to 6% of your max life per second while active. I actually like this change. This is like overall much better because like extra damage. And then we have our Earthen Bulwark. So the innate Earthen Bulwark's damage got increased. Ooh, this is like double the damage. And if you can get this thing to maybe activate 2 times, I mean, even more damage, right? Trample, we have updated to more consistently trample to your target destination rather than stopping immediately upon hitting terrain. Cataclysm, we get Lightning Strikes, a small little damage buff. Lightning Strikes cannot hit the same target more than once. Ooh, even getting all the double damage. Okay, so maybe this is to make up for it. I don't really know how many times it hits the target, but that means you can't just make like a solo only build, especially during the bosses. This more than likely just makes it a lot worse, I'm guessing. We have Earthsign Strength, so the damage got bonus while healthy got reduced. Wow, that's a nerf. The max health bonus got increased, and the overpower. Okay, so there's some sort of give and takes. And Grizzly Rage, overpowering a boss increases its duration, but the main thing that we want is a permanent duration of it. So Quick Shift, when shapeshifting into a new animal, you get to do increased damage. And then now shapeshifting into a new animal form grants increased damage. This bonus is lost within 3 seconds in human form. And then heightened senses. When shapeshifting into an animal form, previously you would gain some sort of damage reduction and movement speed. Now you gain damage reduction and increased movement speed. And then both bonuses persist as long as you're in either animal form and are double while both are active, and they're lost after 3 seconds in human form. This makes it kind of annoying, because what happens with this is, like, with all the transformations, you actually do go into human form. Does it mean 3 seconds? Because it lasts for 6 seconds. I wonder if that's 3 seconds in between, if it counts like when you just cast one skill in human form, because this is actually a pretty big deal, because that means that you would still just lose the bonuses unless you're just specifically in Werebear and Werewolf. So that's actually a massive nerf to Druid, depending on how it actually works, because in some of the skills when you would transform, it counts in between your other, like, forms. So that means even if I'm in human form, let's for say 1 second, but I do it 3 different times in between casting things, that would be a nerf. But again, I'll have to wait and see. Anyways, next up, Bestial Rampage. You used to gain 30% attack speed, and you'd get like 50x damage in Werebear. Now, when you shapeshift into Werebear, you can increase damage for Werewolf and 20% attack speed. Oh, well, wait, what? Werebear is 30% increased damage, and Werewolf is 20% attack speed. What? Dang, that's like... I already felt like Druid wasn't in, like, the greatest spot. I mean, obviously the landslide, like, landstorm thing, that was a bug. In fact, most best builds are always bugged, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's not making it too exciting for Druid. But remember, we're getting a bunch of, like, rune words, so all the extra power with all of the 100 extra bonus Paragon points, 10 extra points on the skill tree, and there's probably going to be overall a buff. Flesh Render, we actually made a build with this. This is actually really cool. So we get extra damage increase. This is actually getting a plus 100%. And then the damage per willpower got increased from 30. Oh, wow. So 50. That's amazing. So this might be actually even better now. That's cool. So the Dolmen Stone, another buff with it. Let's see. Boulders that are not rotating around a hurricane now knock back enemies less to allow you to more consistently hit enemies with multiple boulders. Now boulders are now more consistent when hitting enemies that are within your melee range. That's actually a massive buff. So one of the problems is it would hit too far, like, away from it. If you were too close, it wouldn't hit. So major buff to this. And then Wild Heart Hunger, which is like the best boots in the game for the Druid. So when you'd shapeshift, you'd gain Wild Heart. Wild Heart gives you extra stacking damage every 2 seconds, up to 20 to 60x. And then now the shapeshifting into a new animal form increases the value of your Bestial Rampage bonuses. But didn't that already get nerfed? And then the bonus decays per second. Okay, I would have to, like, see what the math is on that. But I'm guessing, is that a nerf? Because, like, going from 60x to, you get 50% of, what is it? Now you get 50% bonus, so that's 15% increased damage and 10% attack speed, right? Because it goes up to 50% of the bonus. Well, that's like a massive nerf to Druid. Like, that feels really bad, man. Hunter Zenith, gain a bonus when you kill with a shapeshifting skill. Werewolf, your next... okay, so that's what it used to do. And then it would, like, heal you, but the heal didn't really matter. Now, it's every 30 seconds you spend an animal form, your next core skill is guaranteed to overpower and crit strike and deal increased damage. Casting shapeshifting skills reduces this timer by 1 second or 2 seconds if you change into a new animal form. I don't know if you can get Hurricane to last long enough, but I mean, you basically played like Bear, and then you get guaranteed overpower on that, but that's kind of interesting. Next up, all tempering recipes have been updated, so Wind Shearer twice, Tornado, Hurricane, double damage, and then with Lightning, we have Storm Strike, Lightning, Storm, Cataclysm, double damage, Landslide, Projectiles, these were all like just cast twice. And then we have Shred to hit twice. Oh, that's awesome. And the reason why I prefer Shred to hit twice versus double damage is maybe we can do some stuff with some poison. So that's cool. And then we have Claw for double damage. Maul, Pulverize, hit twice. Chance for Trample to deal double damage. Wolves to deal double damage. Creeper. And Raven to deal... Poison Creeper, surprisingly, is probably still bugged. I'm going to be honest with you guys. When I was testing out some of like the... stuff with like the Shout Bear, there were times where Poison Creeper was just still bugged. This skill has literally been bugged since the start of the game, but the fact that it can do double damage, I mean, someone's probably going to figure something out once again with this thing. Move from recipes, so Companion Finesse, so the offensive recipe converted to Companion. Oh, so they just moved some of the stuff around. And then for the Paragon, Reclaiming, so previously we had some all res, and now we have some damage, some small changes. These are all just like so small changes. I'm going to kind of breeze through these unless there's something that's like really important here. It's like, okay, you know, previous was like earth damage and now you get some extra resistances. So they're actually removing some damage here, a lot of different places. But this one, they used to give you armor, and now they're giving you damage. But like, they give you survivability, and then like they're just moving some stuff, perhaps to maybe balance out some of these boards, is my guess. Like maybe some of them were too offensive and some were too defensive, and they want characters to be more well-rounded. And then it's just, again, healing received has always been a pretty bad stat, or like potion healing percentage, right? And some we used to have werewolf, now we have more survivability. And then heightened malice, toxic banes, replacing natureborn, small changes over here. Instead of armor, now you get crit. Instead of crit, now you get more resistances. And then some small nature, magic damage, potion healing. This is like one of the just the worst things to see. And then we get resistances. All right, so moving into Necromancer over here. Wow, we have so much to cover. I still can't believe they've made this many changes. So before we had Blight slows enemies. Now it's increased with the radius. Before Blight had a chance to immobilize. Now it's chill. Bloodlance now always pierces through enemies who are already currently lanced, dealing 10% reduced damage to subsequent enemies beyond the first. Okay, that's pretty cool. Enhanced Bloodlance got reworked, so Bloodlance pierces through enemies who are currently lanced, dealing 10% damage to subsequent enemies beyond. Now, casting Bloodlance 8 times, your next cast of Bloodlance is guaranteed to overpower, and you get a Blood Orb. And before, with the Bloodlance rework, after casting it 8 times, it was guaranteed to overpower. Now you get increased critical strike damage and increased overpower. Blood Wave now makes it so casting Blood Wave grants 20% damage reduction, and then Blood Orbs, you get double the amount. We have Transfusion cooldown got reduced by 2 seconds. Movement speed got increased. The aspect of Curse Aura, the tooltip clarifies that curses are not cast, and also the curses will not benefit from tempering. Additional Blood Waves now deal more damage instead of dealing reduced damage. Okay, cool. That's even better. Mortar Crux. So we have previous affixes over here. So now we have Macabre and Corpse. Int. Chance for Corpse Explosion to deal double damage. Hewed Flesh also grants a barrier and rings of Hewed Flesh. Black River. So the Int got chance for Corpse Explosion to deal double damage. That's cool. I like this. This is a really awesome item. And then with the Tempering, we have Bone Spear to do double damage. That's good. And then Bone Splinter, Bone Spear projectiles, Bone Storm doubles and twice. We got double damage for Blood Surge, Blood Lance hit twice. I wish this was hit twice because you can get the overpower a lot faster, but hey, it works. Blood Lance hit twice, that's good because, you know, if you're getting 8 hits equals overpower, that's good. Transfer Blood Waves to deal double damage. We have Blight Projectiles cast twice, Decompose double damage, Soul Rift double damage, Affliction double damage, and then Shadow Augments, so Sever Projectiles cast twice, Reaped hit twice, Corpse Explosion to deal double. We have Army of the Dead to deal double damage, Skeleton Mage to attack twice, Warriors hit twice, Golem. And then other tempering recipes, so Corpse Explosion damage removed, and then Spirit damage removed. So just kind of move some stuff. And instead of Blight Slow Potency, they changed to Blight Chill. Then with the Paragon Starter Board, now you gain Elite damage versus Armor. Cult Leader, we got some, just again, these are some small changes. So we get some, now we got Summon damage instead of Golem Armor. Now we get extra damage versus Resistances, and then we get Resistances instead of Ulti damage. Removed Armor, gained some damage. Ultimate damage got reduced or changed to damage reduction. Then we have extra maximum 4% maximum life, and then armor, and then got changed to resistances, and then maximum life, and then we got crit changed to armor, and then resistances changed to crit. Blood Orb healing, I think like that's kind of like a bad stat. And then we have damage while healthy, so that's kind of a nice little buff. Again, these are just like small numerical changes for the sake of probably balancing out the boards. All right, so Rogue Blade Shift. So previously, while Blade Shift was active, we would gain some movement speed, and now it is while Blade Shift is active, you gain increased movement speed. Moving through enemies refreshes its duration, and then now with Fundamental Blade Shift, moving through enemies while your Blade Shift activates, refreshes its duration. Now casting a skill that isn't Blade Shift empowers your next Blade Shift to deal 100x. Wow, okay, this might be actually something to look at. So finally we have some like actual like good numbers. Now we have Disciplined Shadow Step, so damage an enemy, stuns him, and changes the cooldown. Oh no, they're removing this? Oh, Shadow Step now deals 200x more damage. Casting Shadow Step reduces its cooldown. You know, I'm going to say that the old one was better, but as long as they don't change the cooldown, that's what I was worried about. Because the reason why is a lot of builds that have uploaded already require close quarters, and this is our way to proc it infinitely and never have to worry about it. So I'm really glad they didn't change that. This, I don't know, maybe you can make a Shadow Step build. I've been talking about that for a really long time. I wanted it to be a build. Now we have AoE, and we have like stealth to stun, drop stun grenades. Maybe it can be good. Concealment grants us unhindered. And then with concealment, it used to, the skill that breaks it guarantees invulnerable, and then now it always crits and makes vulnerable. So that's a nice little buff. And then countering concealment, now we get dodge chance increases the movement speed bonus. Okay, so if you have like, you know, 10% dodge for like a duration, that's cool. And then you are unstoppable after using Shadow Clone, and now you gain stealth and unstoppable. So you gain stealth for free. The baseline, if trap kills an enemy, its cooldown is reduced. So they're automatically added. Now if it kills an enemy, its cooldown is reduced by 12. And then now enemies that resist death traps pull are hit again for the damage. Wow, this is pretty good because you can get death trap, I believe, to cast twice, right? With the Eyes in the Dark. And then Rain of Arrows, it now always knocks down enemies, and the new bonus here is Rain of Arrows deals 40x damage to crowd-controlled enemies. Then passive tooltips states gain a bonus based on the weapon used in your attack. And then close quarters now scales from 15% rather than 10%, so that's a nice little buff for even the Andariel's build, which already is pretty much the best build in the game. And then Adrenaline Rush, Energy Regen got increased, Impetuous now gains damage to basic skills along with Subterfuge if the buff is active. That's cool. Victimize, are they fixing it? So it just really wasn't working. So it used to deal 62% of the damage, and it would be increased by 120x, and now it's 80. But the problem is that like increasing this doesn't really matter if the skill is broken, right? It was like literally broken for several seasons, and then it was good in one season because it was broken, and then it's going back to being broken and bad. I really don't think this is going to make Victimize that good. But who knows. Now it counts for the channel cutthroat skills for momentum, and then now only removes stacks when casting marksman skills. And then aspect of true sight. So this used to give you crit strike damage to enemies marked by inner sight. Now you deal increased crit strike damage to enemies marked by inner sight. While inner sight is full, you gain increased damage. So that's pretty good. It's up more times, because the problem with this is that you would fill up the bar so fast that you would actually lose out on the value of it because it was literally just too fast. So maybe this could be actually pretty good. It's like a 30x, and you gain this bonus when they are marked. So pretty good for bossing, actually. And then on top of that, now gives resistance on casting concealment rather than breaking it. Uncanny Treachery. So now dealing damage with a non-agility skill. Grants stealth for 2 seconds. When stealth breaks, you gain extra dodge chance. So that's just a little higher number over there. Grenades now drop on your target if the existing stealth with Shadow Step. And then they just move some of these augments over here. Probably. Okay. Oh, wait. No. This is chance for caltrops. Consume no charges. Chance for death traps to deal double damage. And then poison trap duration. Okay. So death trap could be something to look at. Especially if it already has like double activation. And now you have double damage. We have Puncture, Heartseeker, all those things to cast twice. Barrage, Rapid Fire Pen Shot to cast twice. Flurry to hit twice, that's good. And then chance for Dance of Knives, Projectiles cast twice. You know what's actually interesting with this? Flurry actually might be one of the top tier builds going into the next season with Andariel's. It already has been buffed several different times, and because you have instant teleport and you have a heal with it, it's great for a selection because it actually hits quite a bit with its lucky hit chance, and it already has the ability to hit a giant AoE if you throw on just one of the aspects for like it's either Breakneck or Encircling Blades, I believe. One of those. You throw that on, and it'll be probably pretty good. And then Dash deal double damage. I don't know if that's going to be viable, but Shadow Step, I really want to try out this. And then we have Blade Shift, some of these other things casting twice. Rain of Arrows cast twice. Smoke Grenade over here. Damage got removed, and then we have Devious now applies its damage bonus against bosses. Wow, that's better. I didn't know that this was broken against bosses, so that's good. And then now just again a bunch of numerical changes over here. Got armor. Wow, I was really not expecting this video to be like an hour long, but again we'll try to brush over these real fast. If there's something that's really good, again most of these are just kind of being changed for the sake of I feel like changing, probably balancing out the boards. Well, oh, so we get some extra ultimate damage. That's good. Oh, but then we lose the ultimate damage and we gain life. It's weird. So the previous one was life over here, but now you're adding life plus poison res, and then you remove the ultimate. But it's like, why are you doing so much for like to give us the same thing? It almost feels like it's like fluff, right? Unnecessary stuff. And get some extra armor there, and then we lose basic damage and getting extra life. All right, so the Sorc. This I think is the last one. So enhanced charge, well, lightning surge. Now also hits the original target as well as the surrounding enemies. So Enhanced Fireball, it used to increase its radius. Now it increases radius and burns enemies for 10% damage over 6 seconds. That's awesome. You know what this means? We don't need to play the Firebolt enchantment anymore if you want to play Firebolt. Chain Lightning, the cooldown got reduced. Oh, that's pretty good. And then Hydra, the duration got increased. That's good. Stun duration on Arc Lash got increased. The cooldown got reduced. Let's see if they're going to be nerfing the best build in the game, though. That's the most important. Endless Pyre, so you deal increased burning damage to enemies each second they're burning. And then now you deal up to 18x increased burning damage. This bonus is increased to 75x while they're affected by more damage over time than a total life. Wow, that is a massive, 75x is huge amount of damage bonus for that. And then Conjuration now caps its bonus at 30 Conjurations. Okay, 30 Conjurations is honestly still a lot, and it's really good that they didn't really nerf the build that much. Sure, like, you know, people can get crazy amounts of Conjurations. However, the thing is, we're going to be able to get those other, there's a new skill that is going to summon those Conjurations, right? Those little elementals. So as long as those count towards it, I mean, 30 is still pretty good. It's just probably to fix the lag in the game, and I totally get that. So Storm Swell, this was a bug not activating twice, but now you get to do increased damage while armor is active, and it's increased by another 15 against frozen enemies. So that's actually just a buff. Unless, again, they're fixing the bug, which used to make it activate twice, which would be 60x, right? So at the end of the day, it's probably a nerf if they fix the bug, but if it's not fixed, then it's going to be even crazier. Every build's going to have to run it. So with Engulfing Flames, you used to deal 30 to 45x increased damage to burning enemies, and then you deal 100x to enemies while they're afflicted with more damage over time than the total life. Now, you get increased burning damage to enemies each second they remain burning, up to 30x, and then you deal 10 to 30x increased burning damage to enemies below 50% life. Okay, but they already gave us that other buff up there for it. And then Aspect of Armageddon now drops more meteorites, so that's cool. And then with the unique item Talrashas, okay, this is important. It's one of the best items in the casting on Pyromancy, Shock, Frost, increases your damage by 10 to 25 for 5 seconds, stacking once per element. Casting again refreshes all bonuses the previous stack, if the previous stack was a different element. Okay, so now, well, it can go. Does it have a limit still? Because I remember this has like a limit of, I believe, 4. So it's getting a buff. So even though they're nerfing some stuff, they're giving buffs other areas. So maybe it's going to be kind of equal, just no more lag. Chance for Chain Lightning's projectile cost twice changed to X chance for Chain Lightning to hit twice. Okay, so Glove's Illuminator got reworked, but its functionality is unchanged. So previously, it would have these fireballs that would bounce and you deal less damage. Now it bounces each time, but the explosion deals extra damage. Oh, okay. So now we're getting even more damage with this. I mean, 100%. Oh, wait. Its effect is reworded. Oh, it's the exact same. I was like, thinking we're going to get 100x damage. I'm like, this is like insane. So it's the same. It just changed the word. So we have as a bunch of the stuff is to cast twice. Meteor does double, and then a bunch of the stuff getting double damage. Incinerate for double damage could be pretty good. It actually does pretty good damage. Just no one really wants to play channeled skills. We have Blizzard, Ice Spikes, double damage, Deep Freeze. A lot of these things casting twice over here. Ice Shards has been definitely falling off the face of the earth. Maybe we can get a bonus buff to that too. That'd be good. We have Hydras, get extra heads. Second Ice Blades. Wait, there's 2 conjurations for Ice Blades? Maybe they're supposed to be Lightning Spear to cast twice? Okay, we have Teleport, Arc Lash, hit twice, Spark Projectiles, Chain Lightning, hit twice, Ball Lightning. And then updates, they just removed a bunch of these. Looks like they're just removing some of them. They like move from here to a different one, so it's probably easier to hit. And then for the Paragon board, again, a bunch of these very tiny numerical changes, unless I see something really good or over here. Again, most of them are kind of like the same. They're just moving some stuff over here. We got like, instead of getting damage reduction, we get cold damage, but then instead of cold damage, we get damage reduction. Again, I just don't know why they're changing it. Maybe just to, again, balance it out. So a bunch of small numerical changes, and then shrine updates. So the following shrines now scale off weapon damage. Artillery Blast with Conduit, so that could be buff and a nerf. Conduit is basically bad. I've been telling you guys not to even take the thing, and when I was doing some Nightmare Dungeons, I wasn't even max level. I noticed that like it's just not worth grabbing this one. And then loot updates. All unique items have a single boss for target farming, removed from Gregor. So they removed all of these, and then we're getting a bunch of newer bosses. So those newer bosses are gonna have all of these. Wow. So a lot of big changes, holy. So they removed all of these, and there's going to be maybe a new boss to target for each individual one of these. And then they changed and then there's just a bunch of bug fixes. Fix an issue where the excessive skill ranks of these could result in 100% damage reduction. Okay, so you cannot be Immortal Barbarian anymore. Let's see if there's any other like bug fixes that are important. Usually I'm going to breeze over these really fast. But if there's anything that's super important in these bug fixes, let me know. This is a pretty important one. They fixed an issue where the Mythic Uniques items would not drop. Like, what do you mean the mythic items were dropping? It's one of the most important things in the entire game. The damage over time from Andariel's Visage didn't trigger if an affected monster was far away. Oh, that's a buff to Andariel, so that's good. Alright, cool. Fix an issue where the following defensive and utility aspects could not be imprinted on shields. Okay, cool. And then miscellaneous. Wow, that was an insane amount of stuff to cover. And I was going to try to make a summary of like everything that you need to know. But man, there are so many drastic changes to certain things. But there are a lot of like kind of fillers things. Anyways, if you guys stuck it to the end of the video, that's crazy, man. I didn't even expect to cover this many notes. That's why I had to take a break in between. But what do you guys think of it? I think overall, again, there's just so many of these changes to Diablo that are like, okay, we're going to move this to move this. We're going to change armor again. And they're changing armor again. They're going to be changing the max level to 60 in the game. There's so many drastic changes, but it's going to more likely kind of feel the same. And we're more likely going to get more powerful. And I know a lot of people, because I was reading the Twitch chat while it was going on, people were like really upset. They're nerfing us. Yes, but they're also giving us a lot more buffs. Like, you gotta remember, another 100 Paragon points and another 10 skill points in the tree, all of these are more than likely going to add up. And it feels like when they're, you know, nerfing us, but then giving us all this power, I think that it doesn't really make sense to do it the way that they're doing. When they say they want to change the numbers and stuff to not get crazy, but then you see these crazy, like, you know, hundreds plus of damage, right? Where we're moving more into Diablo 3 territory. But at least we have rewards. There's some sort of cool things that maybe we can experiment, have some fun with. But yeah, like I said, let me know your thoughts on what class you guys plan to play on the PTR, which is starting very, very soon. But anyways, that's going to wrap things up. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like on it if you're new here. Subscribe to the bell if you want to see an update to this and future videos. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Ooh, man, that was a long video.